Morning guys, Marini here with another stats video. This video is gonna show you guys how to do the first free response question from 2019. As you may have guessed, in part A of this, it asks you to write a few sentences describing the distribution of room size. So that is a SOX question. When I say SOX, I'm talking about shape, outliers, center, and spread. All right, with regard to center, the two measures of center that we've discussed are the mean or the median. And for spread, you can discuss things like range, interquartile range. You can even use standard deviation if you want. Certain things are easier to use than others depending on the distribution. We have here a histogram. So what I like to do first is do a general guide here and just briefly write down what each of these things are and then put it into sentences. So for the shape here, I can kind of see that it's approximately symmetrical. I also noticed that there are two peaks. All right, we kind of have one hump here and then another hump there. I'm going to call this bimodal. We'll talk about that more later. Outliers, it doesn't really seem to have any from the picture. There is some data down here in part B that I can play around with to see if there's outliers, but for right now, the histogram, I don't really see any data that's really small or really out there, so none. For center, we could use the mean, I guess, since it gives it to you, or you can use the median. I really wouldn't use stuff from part B in your answer to part A. Part B is kind of for later. So just by looking at this picture, it would be impossible for me to find the mean. But the median, we kind of tell where it is. So this is the n plus 1 divided by 2 trick. So for median, n plus 1 divided by 2. N is the sample size, which is 20 rooms. So where would the middle of 20 rooms be? 20 plus 1 divided by 2 is 10.5. 10.5 is in between the 10th and the 11th. So there's 3 rooms here, 6 rooms there, 1, 7, and 3. So 3 and 6 is 9. This one would make 10. So in between 10th and 11th, the median would be somewhere in this bar, which makes the median somewhere between 250 and 350. I'm sorry, between 250 and 300. And for the spread, I'm just going to use the range. The range goes from 100 to 350. And now we have to put that into a few sentences. So, put that over here. All right, so that's part A. Part B, here's some summary statistics, and it continues on the next page. Determine whether there are potential outliers in the data and use it to make a box plot of the room size. So to see if there's outliers in the data, we have to go over our outlier formula, which is Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR and Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. First thing you gotta do is find out what the IQR is, which is Q3 minus Q1. All right, so that comes out to be 292 minus 174, which is 118. So quartile 1, 174 minus 1.5 times 118 comes out to be -3. And quartile 3, which is 292 plus 1.5 IQR, comes out to be 469. So what this means is from -3 to 469, anything in between those values is okay. Anything above 469 or lower than -3 is considered to be an outlier. And looking at our data from the minimum to the maximum, the minimum is 134, so we don't have any data that's lower than -3. And since the maximum is 315, we don't have any data that's an outlier on the high end because it can go all the way up to 469. So there are no outliers. And I'll write that down. Now we have to make a box plot. A box plot, you need the 5-number summary. The 5 things you need to put on a box plot are the minimum, and all of this is in the table. I'm just going to copy them down. The minimum is 134. Quartile 1 is 174. The median is 253.5. Quartile 3 is 292. And the maximum is 315. So we come over here to the box plot and put a data point in each of these numbers. So 134 would be somewhere over here. Quartile 1 would be somewhere over here. The median, 253.5, would be somewhere over here. Quartile 3 is 292, which would be somewhere over here. And the maximum is 315, which would be over there. And there's your box plot. Part C, what characteristics of the shape of the distribution of room size is apparent from the histogram but not from the box plot? Well, the box plot shows the shape is pretty symmetrical. The histogram also shows that it's symmetrical, but it also went a step beyond and showed us that it was bimodal and had two peaks, and the box plot doesn't do that. All right, so that's how you do